Hello everybody, this is Anton Höpfel for Manapa Trading and it's the Bund future recap of the first day of this week. Monday, it's 19th of August, and let's have a look first to my hypos. The Bund started below the yesterday main distribution, and we already talked about this with the pre-market preparation today in the stream, that there are some interesting levels so far. We see hypo number one is the range long level, first 178.55, and the lower volume edge of pre-market, this was 178.65. So for me, these levels were where a possible range long can appear. I'm not looking here for a trendish long. Hypo number two, short, and this was more interesting, of course, as we are not in this super bullish mode since Friday, where price is looking for the downside in the Bund, and therefore, hypo 2, short, if increasing selling volume into the overnight low, of course, then the 178.55, this is the most important level, and holding below with targets, then 178.41 and plus, also 41 and more. We see hypo 3 then as last, 4, just in case, if we see increasing buy volume and holding above the overnight high, 178.73, we look then for the long with targets 83 to 93. And if increasing buy volume, even in the higher volume edge, 93, we hold on with our home run position. You see here the 55 is so important because here you see this was in the pre and overnight market, we had some volume edge here. And you see that my target is this little low volume node from the composite profile here around the 40, 42, 43 area. So this will be my first target because this is a little bit the level where, let me see here, separation. Sometimes I'm not native English speaking guy, so I have, we want to see the separation here of the long and the next distribution. I mean, not long. This is the separation with the small lower volume node here and this volume edge here. This means if we can re-enter into this distribution, we may even see the 30, 31, 70, 178, 30 to 35 level. And then below, there's this volume edge. You see this here at the 27, about 27, 28. So that means if they really can get even then lower of this main distribution from the last week's profile, then there's even room. But they don't have to. They maybe got rejected already. Again, here at this lower volume node, this is with my target then at the 43 level, or also already here then when crossing through the value at this POC, this VPOC, or high volume edge, or this volume edge of this distribution. All right, so far. Then let's see how it was played out. First, in the pre-market, they played the hypo number one. You can see it here because I only made a screenshot of the plays that were playable in the cash market time, so after 9. So hypo 1 got played in the pre-market. We don't take a closer look at this because I do not play in the pre-market. I only take place after the 9 o'clock cash open. So what we could see though was that the price went below this volume edge, the pre-market volume edge at the 65, 66 level. So price made some huge pressure here at this moment and took out the low with increasing sell volume already before, and then boom, we got into the situation that this range long that I wanted to play then as a second attempt, the first time in the cash market, but the second time after it was played in the pre-market, it failed. My range long failed here. I got the double rejection. We see some people playing the long, but then boom, got rejected, and we see increasing sell volume. So this was the first moment where one could switch to the short side, as we have a potential. Potential one is only to the overnight low, because we know from the other time frame traders, from the big picture preparation, the more reasonable, the better market, the better volume for the short is when they take out the overnight low with a lot of volume. So that means you can take on this switching from the failed range long to the short here, but you have to know that there may be coming the rejection, and the second attempt would, if this ends also with a responsive buying at this area, you better secure your short. But look what happens. Let's think of it. I didn't play it because I want to see that increasing selling volume with the retest or the initial test of the overnight low. So I didn't enter this trade here. You could, but I watched then what happens. You see how important, of course, this overnight low then is. We now talking of some kind of open drive situation, but the first time for many weeks in Bund, we only see the open drive or very bullish terrain plays on the long trender side. We see now the first time again Bund coming a little bit more under pressure and more on the short and the bearish, at least in the midterm in the bearish market. So let's see what happens. We're testing the low in this moment, and it's going down with a lot of pressure here in the selling. Then we see some pullback. Okay, the pullback is going back to this at the moment little higher volume node. We set back to this volume node. This was created only at this time frame, you see, because prices didn't come back so far at this moment where this screenshot was taken. So don't measure with this profile, because this was, of course, final created when we reached for lower prices. But this here was the profile at this moment where you see here's where the first initiative selling started from this edge 65, pulling a little bit back, and new sellers coming in with this little wave here at this moment here. So we pulled back, and you see your entry from your first play was not touched with this pullback, because you may have entered here around and you wasn't touched. But you see with the second attempt to the low, we don't see responsive buying at this moment. You see this? But you see, again, increasing selling volume. This is very interesting. I make it a little bit bigger so you can see it. And let me use this here for a second to see, to make a connection line. See this at this moment? This push to the downside, the second attempt, was this really big push in delta. So this is very important. That means, what does it mean? If you judge this, of course, it's not responsive buying, but again, initiative selling. For me, this was the moment when I entered with this push away from the at the moment value, from the PUC, shift away with my prepared hypo number 2, remember, short, if increasing selling volume into the overnight low. We're looking here, I entered here at this 53 level. Here I entered. I stayed in this trade. My target area was around my 43, the first, with the lower volume node starting. And what happened? They pushed exactly to the 43, but I was not filled, because they only traded 11 contracts into the bid. So unfortunately, didn't get filled, but I decided to pull my stop here to the entry level, because I didn't want to see prices come back this 10 ticks. I want to see them going up like here, like they did here, and then going into reselling again. But what I did forget at this moment was that the initiative selling did not start yet here, but they were comfortable in the short already from this move here. You see this clearly in delta with this little pushback here and here, the pullback here, and then re-entering. That means the selling control level, even the fact that there was some selling control level that was at least taken out, the initiative selling control level restarted from this moment on, and then again with the pullback from this moment on. That means, as you see that I got stopped out here at this level, because I was 9 ticks in profit, I decided for my stop handling, if I see impulse phase number 1 and 2, push 1, pull 2, I decide to push to the 0, to entry. I made some mistake, because this rule, and I made some observations in the meantime, and I made my analysis of my trade. This rule may only sense if we are, let's call it in the first wave, from the initiative trend has started from. So initiative wave number 1 was this here. Initiative wave number 2 was this here. And this pullback after let's call it a second initiative wave, is allowed, of course, to reset, or call it to pull back a little bit higher when you're talking from a short trend perspective. So this was just a kind of lag in my play of the short trendish market. Why? I don't know. I mean, one reasonable thing is that the last month where I developed my better X plays were developed my long play, also my trend plays. That's my X play. My trend play is more, of course, developed in a more bullish market. So that means in my shortish market, I have had maybe some lag in my microstructure for my play on the micro level. Anyway, I made these observations now for many, many examples that it's always, of course, possible after we make not only one, but a second wave in a trend, they may test on a little bit, going back and test a little bit higher. Because we will see then if we can re-enter here the morning value or if there's some bias coming in. So anyway, doesn't matter. In my case, I took the entry from my prepared level. This was very, very good. And in my case, I stayed with this lucrative trade because entry was lucrative with the big picture preparation and context. Good play on the micro level. And I stayed in the management phase also in a lucrative mode. That means a lucrative trade, but didn't got paid this time. Zero tick and a failed first trade. So that means for me, even it's a little bit painful, I was able to handle it because, as I told you live, when I'm trading, I'm working on the right mindset. That means I'm finding acceptance, trying my tool to develop new behavioral patterns is the acceptance. That means I know that now feels a little bit stupid and feel a little bit bad gut feeling because you were the profit. But remember, the way to success and consistent profitable trading is not to judge your trading by your P&L, but then accept that, of course, there are old behavioral patterns create some kind of frustration and pain, and it's totally okay. And you have to be in a mood of say, very interesting. Now I reacting like a little bit pain, and you know what? That's okay. Find acceptance. So I have this overall target to develop new behavioral patterns. And the small target, the step-by-step target for me today is, because I have some rules, some tiny steps, step-by-step goals. And for Monday and Friday, for example, today was Monday, my goal I want to reach is after a small lucrative losing trade, I stay calm and find acceptance to get back into a comfortable and clear mindset. So I did it at least. So no revenge trading or something else. I just observed and make the observation, okay, this worked out at least. And after this, they pull back and you would be the lucky one if you have traded it here or let the trade give its room to develop, to unfold. The trade then unfolds and we're reaching then, and you see the importance, of course, of my technical mark here of this low volume node from composite 24, 23, 40. You see the reaction. They pulling back and then boom. They got a little bit, they reach in this target, one would get filled. This was my target area. I said target then here is the 41. So reaching the 41. And then you see they're having a little bit trouble. You see some people, technical reactions, taking some profits. You see the importance. Look in here at the big picture and the composite profile. But then they took it out. And at the end, I can tell you they even get down to the 178 area. 178, 8 to 10 area. So very, very interesting at this day. And this was then a 50 ticks, about a 50 ticks chance to make today with this hypo number 2. But I needed to make some adjustments and to understand that at the moment when I played it the right way with the lucrative trade, I wasn't thinking then that we have already seen some initiative selling started already from the pre-market, lower pre-market edge, from the computed yesterday value area low, but for me more important where we see the accumulation from the pre-market. So leaving this balanced area and saw initiative selling. Anyway, very interested. Wonderful. Later then we came back to a balanced market. That means they trying to took out even the lower edge of this composite profile. They made 5-6 ticks and then boom, got rejected through bias, through the bulls, and then we got into a balanced market. And I told you then I'm not looking then for trades anymore because be happy. Market gives you everything one could wish. Hypo 1, pre-market, hypo 2, wonderful, 40, 50, 60 ticks, 50 ticks from my entry, around 60 from this entry to the target area, and then we find some balance. That means First, I accept this area and got back into a balanced mood. I said then they may can go back to the higher area, or they may just make a pause, get into balance, and then trying to get even lower. I think the last thing that I saw when I closed my trade session at 11:30 was that they was more pushing again to the downside. Anyway, a very interesting day. And if you're still looking for the holy grail in trading, I think today market shows you what the real holy grail may be. And this is to stay in a clear mindset and not to fall and give up on your old behavioral patterns, but take your trading in your own control, the things that you can control, and see what changes this can make if you're starting to work on your old behavioral patterns. And not with discipline and not with fighting your brain, but with a balanced mindset and with acceptance and joy with the process. Thank you for watching and listening. This is Anton Höpfel for Manapa Trading.